So picture a multi-billion-dollar offshore oil rig or maybe a sprawling chemical refinery.
Right, one of those massive industrial sites.
Exactly. And from the outside, I think we tend to project this expectation of like absolute mathematical perfection onto these places.
Oh, totally. We want to believe it's all completely under control.
Right. You imagine these pristine rows of steel pipes, perfectly calibrated pressure sensors, every single action dictated by this infallible master blueprint.
Yeah, because we want to believe that in those high hazard environments, human error has just been, well, engineered out of existence.
Right. But the moment you read a post-incident report after a major catastrophe, that illusion of perfect control just shatters completely.
It really does, because the reality on the ground is inherently chaotic.
Yeah, a multi-million-dollar disaster doesn't usually start with some, massive structural failure out of nowhere. It starts on a Tuesday at 2 in the morning in the pouring rain when a single exhausted worker encounters a sticky valve that just wasn't in the manual.
Exactly. The gap between how a facility is designed to operate on a theoretical blueprint and how it actually runs when confronted with weather or fatigue or just aging metal. I mean, that gap is vast.
And that gap is exactly what we are exploring for you today. So welcome to this deep dive. Today is July 16th, 2026, and we've got our hands on a hot-off-the-press release from a company called Eon AI Ventures.
Yes, and it is quite the release.
It really is. They have just unveiled this massive new platform called Symbiosis, and they are billing this as the world's first complete work intelligence system.
Work intelligence, that's a bold term.
It is, and they are making this colossal promise to the industrial sector. They claim this system will tangibly result in fewer accidents and lower operational costs.
Which is a staggering claim to make in heavy industry, right? Because the stakes there are literally life and death.
Yeah, absolutely.
What they're presenting is essentially this intricate, interconnected web of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and digital twin technology. And they're positioning it as the ultimate solution to the unpredictability of human error.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission for you today is simple. We are going to cut through all the heavy corporate jargon here. We need to figure out if this interconnected web of tech is actually the holy grail for preventing industrial disasters, or, if it is just another incredibly shiny, very expensive tech promise.
Right. Is it substance or just hype?
Exactly. So before we even look at the augmented reality headsets or the software interfaces, we really have to establish the baseline problem Symbiosis is actually trying to solve in these high-hazard operations.
Yeah. And the tragedy of high hazard operations is that it's almost never a true lack of knowledge.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Well, when you dive into the source material, this very specific, devastating pattern emerges. The knowledge required to prevent an industrial incident almost always exists somewhere in the world, long before the incident actually happens.
Oh, okay, so the answer's already there. Like the engineers aren't flying blind.
Exactly. The solutions exist. But the problem is they are buried in what the industry calls silos.
Silos, right.
Yeah. So that preventative knowledge might be buried on page 200 of a written safety procedure that's just sitting in a manager's office. Or it might be encoded deep in the theoretical physics of the equipment's manufacturing specs.
Or I guess it could be in the historical record of a near-miss accident that happened, on a completely different rig 5 years ago.
Exactly. Or, very frequently, that vital knowledge is just locked away as pure instinct inside the brain of a veteran operator. But that operator happens to be off shift on the night everything goes wrong.
Wow, yeah. So to put that in perspective for you listening, it's kind of like having a world-class encyclopedia-sized mechanics manual locked securely inside a bank vault while you are stranded on the side of a dark highway trying to fix a blown engine.
That's a great analogy.
Right. The answers to your exact problem exist, but they are completely inaccessible to you in that moment of crisis.
Yeah.
The junior worker standing in front of a vibrating pipe at midnight, they don't have time to go find a 300-page manual.
No, of course not. And what's fascinating here is a specific quote in our sources from Dan Lajerskar. He's the founder and chairman of Eon AI Ventures.
Okay, what does he say?
He explicitly addresses this historical failure in his own tech industry. He notes that software vendors have spent decades promising to bridge this exact gap, to the point where the phrase, "we help you save lives and cut costs," has just become mere background noise.
Yeah, I bet buyers have heard it 1,000 times. It just becomes this corporate white noise that people completely tune out.
Exactly. But Lajerskar argues that Symbiosis is fundamentally different because it isn't just another dashboard. He says it is the actual mechanism designed to finally connect those silos.
So the entire goal is to extract the manual, the physics, and the veteran instinct out of that bank vault and deliver them directly to the worker at the exact second they are holding a wrench.
Precisely.
Which brings us to the mechanics of how they are actually attempting this. Because to get all that siloed knowledge out of the vault and make it usable, Symbiosis basically has to recreate the entire physical facility inside a computer first.
Right, they have to build a digital reflection of the real world.
Yeah, they call it a physics-true digital twin. And reading through the sources, they don't just magically generate this. It's a deliberate progression using 4 specific interlocking products.
Yes, and the foundation of the system really requires translating the static past into an interactive present. They start with a product called Genesis.
Okay, Genesis, what does that one do?
Genesis tackles that first silo, those massive, dusty binders of written procedures we talked about. Genesis ingests those PDFs and manuals and transforms them into interactive, step-by-step, digital practice modules.
Okay, but a digital manual is still just a manual, right? I mean, it doesn't tell you where the pipe is located in the actual physical plant.
No, it doesn't, and that's exactly why, to map the physical space, they introduced the second layer, which is called EON Universal.
EON Universal, right. And the sources say this software takes standard site photos or engineering diagrams and automatically builds a smart 3D twin of the facility.
Yeah, and they highlight this massive library of 8,000 intelligent components. They specifically emphasize that in this system, a pump knows what it is and does.
Wait, a pump that knows what it is?
Yeah, that distinction separates a basic visual model from a functional one. But, a static 3D model still doesn't breathe.
Right.
That leads to the third layer, EON Live. This software takes that smart 3D twin and overlays real-time physics onto it. So it computes fluid dynamics, thermal expansion, pressure thresholds.
Okay, wow. And once you have this living, breathing digital plant, you can use it to train people, which is the 4th product, the Situation Room.
Exactly.
The sources say this allows teams to live through 120 real, historical, major accidents without any real-world consequences.
Yeah, it is a truly comprehensive digital architecture.
It is, but here's where it gets really interesting. I have to push back on this underlying concept.
Okay, go ahead.
The whole system relies on EON Universal having these intelligent parts where, quote, a pump knows it's a pump. Let's be honest, that sounds like they're just building an incredibly detailed billion-dollar video game of a chemical plant.
I can see why you'd say that.
Right. I mean, how does playing a highly realistic simulator in an air-conditioned office actually help the person holding a heavy steel wrench out in the real physical world? If I'm standing next to a failing valve, does a server in California, knowing it's a pump, stop the pipe from bursting in reality?
That is the critical hurdle for any digital twin technology, honestly. And if this were just a visual 3D model, your skepticism would be entirely warranted.
Because it would just be a picture.
Exactly. A standard architectural 3D model is just a collection of empty polygons painted to look like a pump. It has no structural integrity. It has no mathematical understanding of its own flow rate or, the exact temperature at which its internal seals will melt and catastrophically fail.
Oh, I see.
But the phrase physics true, which is powered by EON Live, changes that dynamic entirely. Because the digital pump is coded with its real-world physical properties, it reacts mathematically exactly the way the physical pump would under identical stress.
So it's not a visual illustration at all. It's a mathematical clone that is literally calculating its own breaking point.
Yes. And that mathematical clone is the engine powering the Situation Room. Earlier, we discussed how the ultimate safety mechanism is that veteran instinct.
Right, that subconscious gut feeling an older worker gets when a machine's vibration just feels slightly off.
Exactly. And you only acquire that instinct by surviving decades of mistakes and near misses and close calls.
Which is a dangerous way to learn.
Very dangerous. But the Situation Room allows a 22-year-old new hire to virtually experience 120 catastrophic plant explosions, toxic leaks, pressure failures.
Wow.
They watch the physics-true equipment cascade into failure based on real mathematical models, and they are forced to troubleshoot the disaster in real time.
So they acquire the veteran repetitions and build that gut instinct without ever exposing themselves to physical danger.
Exactly.
Okay, that definitely reframes the value of the simulation. You are essentially hot-wiring the human brain to recognize the warning signs of a disaster before it happens, because you're letting them practice in a world where the digital physics perfectly mirror reality.
Right.
But even with all that training, we are still trapped in the digital realm. I mean, the worker's still sitting in a training room. Eventually, we have to cross the threshold into the physical world.
We do.
So if this physics-true digital twin is the brain of the operation, what are the hands? Like, how does this vast intelligence actually reach the concrete floor of the facility during a midnight crisis?
That crossing of the threshold brings us to what Eon AI Ventures explicitly calls the crown jewel of the entire Symbiosis system. It's a product named Field IQ.
Ah, Field IQ. This is where the digital meets the physical. According to the release, Field IQ operates through a worker's smartphone or via augmented reality glasses. The worker steps onto the site, looks at this complex, confusing tangle of machinery, and the AR system instantly recognizes the exact equipment in front of them. And it does this without needing any prior environmental modeling.
Yeah, that's a huge technical leap.
It is. It then takes those interactive instructions from the Genesis modules and overlays the proper guidance directly onto the physical pipes and valves in the worker's field of vision.
And the brilliance of Field IQ is that it serves two distinct functions simultaneously. First, it acts as an actuator.
An actuator, meaning it drives action.
Right. It actively guides the physical actions of the worker. The AR interface highlights exactly which valve to turn, in what direction, and by how many degrees. It ensures the job is done according to the pristine engineering blueprint.
It is literally the equivalent of having that veteran operator standing directly over your shoulder, pointing at the exact bolt you need to loosen.
Exactly. But the second function is where the system truly evolves. While it acts as an actuator guiding the worker, the cameras on the phone, or the AR glasses, are simultaneously acting as a sensor.
A sensor.
Yes. The system is constantly recording and analyzing what the worker is actually doing in physical reality.
Wow, okay, so it is tracking the literal physical movements of the human hands.
It is. It's capturing what the sources refer to as the delta between plan and practice.
The delta between plan and practice.
Yeah. The delta is that space between the pristine, idealized engineering procedure written in an office and the messy, improvised reality of how the worker actually had to execute the task in the field.
Right, because things never go exactly to plan.
Never. And that captured reality, the visual and spatial data of that deviation, then flows into two processing engines called Assess IQ and Compound IQ. These engines analyze the deviation and feed that data straight back into the master digital twin.
Okay, so what does this all mean? Because the release leans heavily on this highly specific terminology. They call this process the closed-loop Intelligence Flywheel.
Yes, they do.
And when I read that, it honestly just sounds like brilliant marketing speak for a standard software feedback loop. Is there an actual functional flywheel mechanism at play here? Or is this just a fancy way of saying the app updates itself? Like, what is actually compounding in this scenario?
I get why you'd ask that. The terminology does sound like marketing jargon, but the underlying mechanics do actually replicate a physical flywheel.
Really?
Yeah. Think about mechanical engineering. A flywheel requires a massive amount of initial energy to get spinning, but once it gains momentum, it stores rotational energy and becomes this incredibly powerful, self-sustaining force.
Okay.
We can break down Dan Lajerskar's quote to see how this applies. He states, Genesis replays, Universal understands, Eon on live runs, and Field IQ carries all of it to the worker, then feeds reality back.
Ah, so the knowledge travels from the digital vault to the physical floor, and the physical reality travels back to the digital vault.
Yes, exactly. Let's look at a practical scenario to see how the compounding works in real life. Let's say a digital procedure instructs a worker to turn valve A and then turn valve B.
Simple enough.
But the worker out on the rig knows from experience that valve A is sticky due to rust. And if you don't tap it firmly with a heavy wrench first, the internal mechanism jams.
Right, that veteran instinct we talked about.
Exactly. So the worker improvises that tap to get the job done safely. Field IQ, acting as the sensor, visually captures that human improvisation, that specific delta.
Okay, I see where this is going.
The data flows into Assess IQ, which evaluates the deviation and determines it actually resulted in a successful, safe outcome.
Wow, so the system recognizes the deviation wasn't an error, it was a necessary physical workaround.
Exactly. And that realization is then pushed to compound IQ, which automatically updates the underlying physics true digital twin, and it rewrites the procedure
Wait,
matrix.
so the manual is updated instantly without a human engineer ever opening a PDF?
Yes. So the next time a brand new worker approaches that exact same machinery, the augmented reality glasses will overlay a new updated instruction. Tap valve A with wrench before turning.
That is wild. The machine is literally learning from human improvisation on the fly.
It is. With every single shift and with every physical turn of a wrench, the digital twin gets smarter. The safety procedures become more reflective of reality, and the entire operation goes safer and more cost-effective.
And that continuous automated learning from physical human action, that is the compounding momentum of the flywheel.
You nailed it.
The system isn't just dictating commands to a passive human workforce. The human workforce is unwittingly teaching the system how the physical world actually behaves. The software is absorbing the collective street smarts of the people on the ground,
It really is.
which perfectly sets up the final overarching piece of this puzzle. Because if this flywheel actually functions the way Eon claims it does, we have to examine what this means for the massive global corporations buying it and, what it signals for the broader enterprise technology landscape.
Yeah, the strategic implications outlined in the release suggest a massive shift in how corporations value their technology stacks.
Because the sources define Eon AI Ventures' corporate strategy with a very specific, deliberate phrase. They say, orchestrate the commodity, own the compound.
That's a very revealing phrase.
It is. They are explicitly stating that the underlying artificial intelligence models, like the massive large language models or computer vision algorithms powering the analysis, are merely commodities.
Right, they are entirely switchable. If a newer, faster AI model is released next year, you simply swap the old one out.
But the living, breathing intelligence that the facility accumulates through that constant flywheel of human action, that operational reality, that becomes a highly durable proprietary asset, owned exclusively by the customer.
And that strategic framing leads to their grandest ambition here. They are actively positioning work intelligence as an entirely new system of record.
A system of record.
Yes. They intend for Symbiosis to sit alongside the absolute foundational giants of enterprise software, like ERP, CRM, and PLM.
To put those acronyms in perspective for you listening, just think about the software architecture that runs modern business. We are completely accustomed to massive corporations relying on an ERP, an enterprise resource planning system, to track every single financial penny that moves to the supply chain.
Right?
And we rely on a CRM, customer relationship management software, to log every single phone call, email, and interaction with a client. And then in manufacturing, they use PLM product lifecycle management to track a physical product from its initial CAD design all the way through the manufacturing assembly line.
Exactly. And now Eon In is proposing a brand new system of record designed to track the literal physical movements of how human work gets done in the real world.
They are building a permanent, searchable ledger of physical human action.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, treating the AI as a replaceable commodity is a brilliant maneuver. Well, by doing so, they completely sidestep the frantic, incredibly expensive AI arms race happening right now among tech giants. Eon On is basically walking into multi-billion-dollar industrial operators and stating, look, the real value of your company isn't the AI algorithm. The algorithm is just a generic engine.
Right.
The true irreplaceable value is the 25 years of accumulated proprietary data on how your specific deep water oil rig actually operates under pressure.
And Eon backs up their capacity to build this new system of record with serious institutional credibility. They are not some newly formed startup chasing an AI trend.
No, not at all.
The press release heavily emphasizes a 25-year heritage in immersive learning and spatial computing. They have the legacy leadership from Eon Reality driving this, and they are boasting a massive footprint. We're talking over 4,400 institutional customers spread across more than 80 countries and over 136 million total platform downloads.
That is massive. They possess the existing scale and market penetration to actually attempt establishing a new global standard for a system of record.
Absolutely.
And with that level of established infrastructure, if they succeed in deploying Symbiosis, they will transcend simply selling software licenses. They will become the digital vault where a global corporation's most valuable proprietary asset, its ground-level operational reality, is permanently stored and analyzed.
It represents a massive paradigm shift in how we define industrial knowledge. And for you listening, this deep dive offers a vivid glimpse into the future of all work. We are looking at an impending horizon where the tools we use don't just sit passively waiting for our input.
Not anymore.
Our tools are going to actively guide our physical movements, and more importantly, they're going to continuously watch, record, and learn from our physical actions in real time.
This raises an important question, however, and it is something embedded in the very mechanics of the system that we really need to consider.
Oh, definitely.
The entire magic of the Symbiosis Flywheel, the engine that allows the knowledge to compound and the facility to get safer, relies fundamentally on field IQ operating as a constant sensor.
Right.
It relies on mathematically measuring that delta between plan and practice. But translating that into human terms means the system is tracking every single tiny physical deviation a worker makes from the idealized, corporate-mandated procedure.
Which means the system requires constant, uninterrupted observation of the workforce to function.
Exactly. So if work intelligence truly does become the new universal system of record across industries, we have to evaluate the ultimate impact on the human beings doing the work.
It's a huge ethical question.
It is. Does this technology ultimately empower workers by giving a junior mechanic the safety net and confidence of a veteran's instincts, ensuring they navigate a dangerous situation and get home safely?
Which is the goal?
Right. Or does implementing a system that tracks the physical delta turn the human workforce into heavily surveilled biological extensions of the machine?
Wow.
A reality where every minor physical deviation, every momentary pause, and every improvised tap of a wrench is permanently recorded, uploaded to a corporate vault, and scrutinized by an algorithm.
That is the incredibly thin tightrope between total operational safety and total workforce surveillance.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about how you would feel having your own personal physical delta tracked minute by minute, movement by movement at your own job.
Yeah, it's unsettling when you frame it that way.
Are your improvisations teaching the machine to be better, or is the machine simply managing your physical output? It's a profound question about the reality of what it means to be a human worker in this new era. We started this deep dive talking about a world-class mechanics manual locked hopelessly inside a bank vault.
We did.
Symbiosis has undoubtedly engineered a way to blow those vault doors wide open, placing the answers directly into the workers' hands exactly when they need them. But the undeniable trade-off seems to be that the vault is now always watching you read it.
Always watching.
Keep that dynamic in mind the next time a revolutionary piece of smart tech shows up at your workplace. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.